Resilience in isolation is the quiet power that emerges not in crowds or celebrations, but in solitude. When the noise of the world fades and only your convictions remain, it is in those moments when, stripped of comfort, stripped of applause, stripped of all visible progress, that a person is tested most severely. When your thoughts are your only company and your cause seems distant or forgotten, that is when the temptation to surrender whispers most seductively. Yet, to remain firm in purpose while unseen, unheard, and perhaps even unloved by the world, that is resilience. To endure long nights with no certainty of dawn, to remain loyal to a vision no one else can see, is to possess a strength deeper than any physical force. It is in isolation that ideas are refined, distractions removed, and character shaped by stillness and struggle alike. True resilience is not merely surviving the silence. It is learning to speak to oneself with honesty and courage within that silence. It is the art of transforming loneliness into reflection and hardship into discipline. Isolation becomes the forge where shallow ambition burns away, leaving behind only pure principle. You begin to understand that your value does not diminish because others have stopped watching. Rather, it grows in quiet defiance of neglect. When the mind is trained to hold steady while surrounded by uncertainty and stripped of external encouragement, it becomes immovable. That is when the soul is prepared not only to lead, but to endure, because it no longer seeks validation from the outside. Resilience in isolation teaches that strength is not the absence of pain, but the refusal to let pain decide who you will become. The ability to carry within you the fire of anger, the chill of fear, and the sting of injustice, yet allow none of them to dictate your actions. When a person is placed under intense pressure, whether through oppression, betrayal, loss, or humiliation, their emotional response rises naturally and sometimes violently. But emotional strength is not found in unleashing chaos in return. It is found in the ability to remain calm when provoked, to think clearly when wronged, and to act with principle when vengeance would be easier. This does not mean denying pain or suppressing the truth. It means choosing purpose over reaction. It means realizing that every outburst can harm the very cause you stand for, and that every decision must serve not just your feelings, but your vision for what is just and lasting. The strength to lead under pressure requires you to feel everything and still move with intention, to carry grief and not let it harden you, to experience anger and not let it blind you, to be wounded and still protect others from your own bitterness. Emotional control under pressure is a discipline, not a denial. It requires daily reflection and relentless honesty with oneself. One must learn not to be a servant of passing moods, but a steward of timeless values. Even when deeply wronged, you must ask, will my response move us forward or simply satisfy my frustration? The answer to that question defines the kind of legacy you will leave. Because leadership under pressure is not proven in moments of ease. It is revealed when your heart is breaking, your pride is bruised, and still you act with grace, clarity, and resolve. That is when emotion becomes power, not by dominating your mind, but by being guided by your higher self. Purpose beyond self is the moment when your life becomes larger than your own survival, comfort, or ambition. It is when you stop asking, what can I gain? And begin asking, what can I give? A person who lives only for themselves is easily broken, because their world is only as wide as their personal desires. But the one who carries a cause deeper than their own name becomes unshakable. They may suffer, they may sacrifice, they may be forgotten by men, but they walk with the quiet certainty that their footsteps are leaving a path for others to follow. To live with a purpose beyond self is to stand in the gap between what the world is and what it could be, and offer yourself as the bridge. It is the burden of service and the joy of contribution. It is to believe that your efforts, no matter how small, can light a candle in someone else's darkness. Such purpose gives meaning to even the harshest trials, when your journey is no longer about self-preservation, but about uplifting others. Your suffering becomes fuel, your patience becomes power, and your endurance becomes legacy. You begin to measure success not in titles or possessions, but in the lives you've touched, the injustices you've challenged, and the hope you've helped restore. Purpose beyond self teaches you humility, because it reminds you that greatness is not proven in how high you rise, but in how many you lift. And when storms come, as they surely will, you find strength not because you are fearless, but because what you stand for is too important to abandon. A purpose beyond self is the anchor in chaos, the compass in confusion, and the fire that keeps burning when every other light has gone out. It does not shout for recognition. It quietly builds a future worth believing in. Choice to rise above it. It is often mistaken as weakness, as if to forgive is to forget the pain inflicted or to excuse the injustice endured. But true forgiveness is the highest expression of strength and control. It is not born out of naivety, but out of clarity, the understanding that cycles of bitterness only deepen wounds, and that healing begins when one refuses to carry the weight of vengeance any longer. Forgiveness is not the absence of memory, but the refusal to let memory harden into hate. It is the moment when one decides that building peace is more powerful than preserving pride, that no matter how justified retaliation may seem, the path of progress demands a different kind of courage, the courage to let go, not for the sake of the oppressor, but for the liberation of the soul and the future of the people. When forgiveness is embraced as a strategy, it becomes a foundation for unity and lasting change. It allows wounds to be acknowledged without allowing them to define what comes next. It gives others space to evolve, and it gives the forgiver the space to lead without being chained to the past. In the hands of a principled leader, forgiveness is not a sign of forgetting history, but of writing a better chapter. It is choosing to invest energy into building something stronger instead of tearing down what's already broken. It does not ignore justice. Rather, it clears the emotional path so that justice can be pursued with wisdom, not rage. Forgiveness, used wisely, is the most disarming force known to humanity. It neutralizes the power of those who wish to divide and turns enemies into reluctant allies. It protects the mind from corrosion, the heart from hate, and the mission from sabotage. Is not given because others deserve it. It is given because the future demands it.